Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Pixels and Projects podcast.
So here's a staggering statistic. 69% of remote workers are reporting symptoms of burnout. That's from the 2023 Future Forum survey. And honestly, it's not that surprising when you consider how blurred the lines between work and personal life have become. You know, always on notifications, emails popping up during dinner, and that nagging feeling that you're never really offline.
Yeah, it's like even when you're not working, you're working. It's exhausting. If you're constantly tied to your phone or your laptop, it's no wonder people are burning out. I mean, that whole balance, it just disappears.
Exactly. But here's where something like digital sunset protocols comes into play. These are strategies to create clear boundaries, and they work by setting communication windows, like a cutoff point where team-wide quiet hours start. Microsoft's Work Trend Index found that 45% of remote workers feel less productive because of after-hours interruptions. So it's not just personal well-being at stake, it's actual performance metrics too.
Oh, for sure. And those interruptions, oof, they're killer on team morale too. I love the idea of quiet hours. It's simple but so effective. Like, hey, let's just agree no work pings after 6 p.m. or before 8 a.m. Everybody gets to, actually unplug. Well, what about notification settings?
Great point. That's another piece of it. You can configure tools like Slack or Teams to respect those quiet hours. Notifications don't pop up unless it's during your work schedule. And let's not forget email scheduling. You can write an email at midnight if you have to, but it shouldn't hit anyone's inbox until the next morning.
Oh, and Johnson, speaking of interruptions, this actually reminds me of something that happened with my team. One night, I was on a vendor call, super late, and my dog, Lucy, she's a sweet thing, but she's a talker.
Oh no, she interrupted.
Oh, big time. She started barking like crazy. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. After that, I told my team, look, we're setting quiet hours. No more late night calls unless it's an absolute emergency. And you know what? The next week, everyone on my team just seemed lighter. Like their energy was so much better.
That's a great story, Jody. And honestly, it shows just how much of a difference small changes can make. These protocols aren't complicated, but their impact can be huge on both productivity and well-being. That just goes to show how impactful these kinds of protocols can be. And speaking of putting smart strategies into practice, let's talk about Dropbox for a second. When they went remote, they implemented this thing called the virtual first policy. Here's how it works. They set core collaboration hours where teams overlap, and outside of that, people have flexibility. They also carved out what they call focus time blocks, where interruptions are minimized completely. You know what happened? A 23% increase in reported work-life satisfaction and a 15% productivity boost. That's significant.
Productivity and satisfaction at the same time. That's kind of the holy grail, isn't it? The collaboration hours make a lot of sense. Like you're working together when it counts most, but the rest of the day you actually get to do the deep work.
Exactly. The focus time blocks are key. When you know you can't be interrupted, it becomes so much easier to concentrate. Eliminating those constant pings? I'd argue it's a game changer for creative work and problem solving.
It's funny you say that because it reminds me of something I've seen with, like, physical boundaries too. I mean, working from home gets tough when your workspace is also your personal space. I remember reading that people with designated workspaces are 32% more productive. And honestly, I believe it. When I started keeping my laptop out of, say, the kitchen, it was like my brain said, okay, you're off duty.
That's great. And it ties into this idea of creating rituals, transition rituals specifically. They replace the work commute, right? So maybe it's something like taking a walk before starting the day, or even something as simple as switching browsers, one for work, one for personal. That mental shift makes a huge difference.
Oh, for sure. Like my friend, she's also remote. She lights a candle every morning when she starts working and blows it out when she's done. It's small, but it's how she marks the boundaries. I think it's genius, honestly.
It really is. And what's interesting is these sorts of things, rituals, boundaries, they're low cost, but the impact is massive. Even smaller teams or those without formal policies can adopt them without much effort.
Right. I do think there's sometimes a challenge, though. Like when you're in a small apartment or sharing a space, that's where digital boundaries come into play, like using separate accounts or profiles for work and personal use, so you're not tempted to mix the two. Honestly, I could talk about this all day because boundaries, they're they're just crucial.
Absolutely. And, speaking of managing your day effectively, another strategy that fits right in here is time blocking.
Oh, go on.
Let's dive into time blocking. It sounds like such a simple concept, but in practice, it's incredibly effective. There's this fascinating stat from Rescue Time. They analyzed 185 million working hours and discovered that people who use time blocking experience 50% fewer distractions. And not just that, they complete 38% more high priority work.
50%? That's huge. I mean, distractions are like the silent productivity killers, right? So, what's their secret with this? Is it the structure?
Exactly, yeah. It's all about structure. You map out your day with these dedicated 90-minute deep work sessions. During that time, no interruptions, no multitasking, just pure focus. And then you balance it with explicit breaks. Time to recharge, move around, maybe grab a snack. Make it sustainable.
Oh, that's brilliant. Like by building in those breaks, you're actually being productive without burning out. Honestly, that could be a game changer, especially for people juggling a ton of tasks.
For sure. And it's not just about productivity, Jody. It ties directly into well-being, too. When you're limiting distractions and controlling your time like this, you're automatically reducing that cognitive overload. Add in buffer zones between meetings, and suddenly, your day feels manageable instead of chaotic.
Yeah, and buffer zones, for sure. They're like little lifesavers for remote work. Honestly, it's so easy to just stack meetings back to back and then wonder why you feel like a zombie by 3 p.m.
Exactly. And to tie that into another key strategy, asynchronous communication. GitLab's remote work report showed teams using async communication improved their work-life balance by 35%. That's not small potatoes.
No, that's huge. So async is all about like letting people respond on their own time, right? Stuff like video recordings instead of pulling everyone into a meeting.
That's one part of it, definitely. It's also about documenting important discussions so everyone can access the same information without needing to sync up live. And of course, setting clear expectations, like, okay, we'll respond within 24 hours for non-urgent stuff. That removes the pressure of always being immediately available.
That whole immediately available thing. Ugh, it's the worst. Honestly, async sounds like it could solve a lot of issues, especially for teams spread across time zones. Let people work when they're at their best, you know?
Absolutely. And pairing all of this with digital wellness practices really seals the deal. Here's an example, the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, you look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. It's a simple habit, but it helps reduce eye strain and keeps you feeling more alert throughout the day.
I love that. You know, it's not just about work-life balance. It's about life-life balance, making sure you're not glued to a screen 24/7. Oh, Johnson, share your story about the boundary reviews with your last tech team. It's such a great example.
Oh, sure. So with my last team, we started doing these quarterly boundary reviews. We'd look at our working patterns, what hours we felt most productive, and where we felt stretched too thin. Just by having those conversations, we discovered our best unavailable hours, which ended up being mid-afternoons. Once we adjusted for that, wow, it was like the team hit its stride. Productivity skyrocketed, and morale improved across the board.
That's such an inspiring example. It's not just about policies or strategies. It's about being intentional with how we work and recognizing when something's not working. Honestly, all these strategies we've talked about, time blocking, async communication, digital wellness, they all boil down to being more mindful, don't they?
They really do, Jody. It's about planning smarter, not working harder. And at the end of the day, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of the work either.
Exactly. Well, I guess on that note, that's a wrap for today's episode. This has been such a fantastic conversation, and I hope everyone tuning in takes even one of these strategies to heart. Remember to sign up for our newsletter for more topics that can help to make a difference for your team.
Absolutely. And thanks, Jody. It's always great chatting with you. And to our listeners, we'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves out there.